Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Just want to take a few moments. It's been an emotionally charged day for me internally. There are a lot of things changing and shifting in my environment, and I'm sensing, feeling, and picking up on it heavily. As always, most of us are in a reality that's been orchestrated to be weirdly or bizarrely normal. And many of us have been balancing things that we're feeling and knowing to be true that we haven't seen in our environment. No cues from our environment externally to indicate that anything's even awry, but I and many others like me have been feeling these deep existential feelings. Like there's been intermittent feelings of dread, of anxiety, of both hope and hopelessness. I keep getting waves of both, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm paying close attention to my feelings and how I'm responding to my environment, because like many people, I'm astounded that so little has been said or explained or pointed to over the past several years, especially in the city where I'm at. There has certainly been a spiritual phenomenon that has occurred that is highly imperceptible to people who lack intuition, who lack sentience, who are just not as intelligent, basically. And at the same time, the powers that be have been using these methods to wear down people's minds and to manipulate people's minds and to censor and oppress people, basically. It has been a huge violation of our rights, our minds, our bodies, and it's all designed to break our spirit, of course. But, in addition to it being a limiting, depressing, and nerve-wracking thing, it's all designed to encourage mum's the word. No actual response or dialogue formed about it out loud, nothing real to indicate that anything bad's happening. And I'm just sensing and feeling that, especially in my environment, there are things happening that are not being explained, that we don't know about verbatim, that are detrimental, that are going to contribute to our lack of a well-being, especially if we keep the blinders on and we're just upholding normal all the time, and we're not at least taking some personal time of our own volition to reflect and to try to mediate something in the future tense. Because I sense that there's going to be calamities that may or may not ever see the light of day, but they do occur, and they are having a harmful impact on the world. So more than ever, it's time to go ahead and try to band together and establish common ground, because what I perceive in the world still may not be what you perceive. We all do see things differently somewhat, but I think those of the same cloth need to go ahead and start figuring out what that means and how to congregate and at least identify that, hey, this is not normal, it's weird, it's different, it's detrimental, and we can point to some bad things. There's a lot of things that have happened that we'll never quite know. All the details are wrong, and we're all just shuffling through the missing pieces and the pieces that are left, trying to make a big picture that can't even be made yet, or ever, because of what I just mentioned. But there is something keeping me going through this that I can't quite define. I feel it. It is like an empowering feeling whenever you have this perception. It's just disheartening, because what you're looking at isn't something that's appealing. It's not something that other people are going to want to indulge. They're going to perhaps view you as a negative person if you point to the fact that there are problems building and that you're sensing and feeling a lot. We, and by we I mean sentient people, period, are going to feel and know more. They're more, they respond to their environment more. They're more clued into things. I can't be easily fooled. Certain people can be easily manipulated and fooled, and those are the people that are going to be all around us, that are basically prohibitions and potential liabilities, because there are factors that can be manipulated with them that can't be with us. We are pure of heart. We also see things differently, and we have foresight, and that is something that needs to be taken into account. That needs to be distinguished for people like us, if you know who I'm referring to. But they ultimately want us all reaching for a false hope, or to give us a false reassurance that things are going to be okay. And especially if we've been guided to do the wrong thing, they want to send the message home that there won't be any consequences, to condition you into thinking that you can be anything other than an upstanding citizen and expect for it to work out. That simply isn't the case. We should all get ready for that wave of crocodile tears and tons of excusing and deflection from emotionally weak narcissists. That's going to happen. They're not going to be keen on pointing out where they went wrong unless they have really seen the light and have been humbled. And I expect that there's going to be acts of God, and the wrath of God will be a recurring theme in our reality to remind us that this is a spiritual phenomenon ultimately, and this is not normal waking life, and there's going to be consequences for people's actions ultimately. That will have been a false hope if you think you can do the most morally bankrupt and reprehensible things and live through it without any type of retribution. That is simply a false hope of the devil, so don't ever give in to that ideology. But with that being said, almost everybody in our midst is going to miss the spiritual value of this event. It's not going to stick out to them until it's, more of a thing that they're looking at their mortality or their afterlife. Once they start thinking about that, perhaps that changes their views a little bit. But until then, people are just going to be looking at the surface, and eventually the surface level things that we're doing that make us feel so normal, they're not going to even feel the same. They're going to be less easy to facilitate, and everything's going to get more strained, and we will have never explained why or dug to the deeper meaning of it. It will have been a pointless exercise in futility that ultimately just pisses us off and doesn't do anything of value other than hold us back from being able to live our actual lives. But, there's no memo or bulletin that we're all going to receive about this. We're all living life on different terms. We're going through the same event, and it's affecting us all differently. But there are certainly themes that I've noticed in the world. We all know a lot more than we've ever said. And that's a scary, weird precedent that we all know so much. Hopefully we all know what to do by that point when this bubble does pop. I sense that there will be a larger scale awakening, but I sense that more and more light bulbs are still continuously going off. And once they do, it illuminates a situation that is pretty ugly and terrible to think about or look at. But the deep down is going to become out loud at some point. All these emotions and feelings that many of us have been repressing out of necessity are going to come out in a big way. And you got to be a master of your emotions, because for an emotionally volatile narcissist who's having a bad awakening with a lot of dizzying factors that are all anxiety inducing, that's going to be a shit show, and they're not going to be able to handle themselves, and it's just going to be more problems after more problems because of people who can't handle their own emotions and their own actions having consequences. So, whistleblowers, I think, are going to keep popping up, and it's going to be a matter of this type of knowledge being discussed and it leading to a counterculture that will identify the spiritual phenomenon, because it has predominated my life and it's become my life. I just can't come out and tell the average person that. I'm going to have to hope that they pick up on the signs and see it like I see it, because it's not immediately evident what's going on, because most people aren't highly affected like people like me. We've been heavily targeted, and we're basically clued into a lot more. We pay more attention, and we're exposed to a lot more information, which is why I even try to do this. Like, it's such small numbers, it blows my mind. Like, nothing can really catch wind if it's a relevant true thing in this new reality. Our minds have to be preoccupied with fodder and bullshit that doesn't really contribute to our spiritual well-being or our long-term well-being on planet Earth. So I think we're going to have more and more epiphanies pop into people's brains over time, and it'll clue them in. I firmly believe that the spiritual presence within people on this earth is going to guide them to do different things. So if you fall into that category, then I would say you are among the chosen, and you are definitely needed to keep being who you are, record history, point out things that other people are more scared to bring up. If you feel strong in your beliefs and feel confident that you can make your point and to be conveyed and not be dissected by cowards and fools who are just looking to scrutinize you. That's the test of life, is we're going to be around nonsensical, backwards people who piss us off. And it's almost to the point where we have to live in that false reality with certain people. Rather than try to indulge it and get pissed off and have your intelligence insulted, it encourages that a lot of people just stay mute and mum's the word. But maybe there are better ways to reach those people, to give them signs and messages so they can wake up and not be a complete piece of shit that contributes to the problem. Hopefully that helps, though, but wish everybody well. Peace.